Hello, everyone. Welcome to St. Augustine College. My name is Jennifer Talley. I work in the Office of Academic Effectiveness. I am an instructor of English, and I also work with new students who are transitioning into their new roles in higher education as students. So I'm very, very happy to welcome you all today. And I will give you a brief overview of what we're going to discuss in this session. All right, so what I'm here today to do is to primarily talk to you about study strategies and time management and how you can maximize your time to be the most productive that you can possibly be. We all are busy adults. We have many, many responsibilities and obligations throughout the course of a day. So really this is about how to maximize your time and how to be most effective. So first we'll start off talking about study strategies. Then we will talk about different learner types. We all have different ways in which we prefer to learn, and understanding that preference can help you to be more effective. And then lastly, we will do some time management tips, and we'll work on building our actual schedules for the fall term. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing we want to talk about today is how do you prefer to study? And this is going to tell us something about your learner preferences and the way that you absorb information. So what we're going to do is I will have your learning facilitator send around a link right now. It will go in the chat. And when you open up that link, all you need to do is click on it. There are no passwords or downloads. When you open up that link, you will see a document that looks just like this. We're talking about study strategies. So what I want everyone to do is just take a couple of moments, and in the square below, you're going to type in some of the study strategies that have been successful for you. So however you've studied in the past, it doesn't matter if it was years ago and you've been out of school for a while, or if it was just last year, whatever techniques you used to use that are successful for you, please go ahead and enter them in. And then when you are finished with that, your learning facilitator will have a brief discussion with you. So please go ahead and fill this form out. Welcome back. I hope you all had a moment to reflect on what study strategies have been successful for you. Generally, we see things like using note cards or taking notes during class. Sometimes people like to work with peers or in study groups. All of those are absolutely fine. And really, it just depends on your own preferences and the way that you learn. So it's important to really get to know yourself so that you can empower yourself to learn more efficiently. So for example, I know I cannot work when others around me are talking. So I like to go somewhere isolated when I'm working in order to be most productive. Maybe you are the complete opposite, where you enjoy a social environment and you work with your peers in order to study together. It all just depends on your own individual preferences. Okay, so let's go to the next slide here. We're going to spend a couple moments thinking about how we learn. And we started talking about this in the previous slide. Think about questions like this. Do you like to listen to music while you study? Or are you someone that is easily distracted? Would you rather read something or watch a video about it? Do you like to work around others, or do you like to be isolated when you're working? All of these can give us clues about the type of learner we are. And once we know that, we can adjust the way that we study in order to be most effective. what we're going to do next is to learn exactly what type of learner we are. I'm sure most of you have ideas at this point about how you prefer to learn, but let's take a little quiz and that will tell us exactly our learner style. So what we will do now, your learning facilitator will send around a link to a quiz. It's an online quiz. You can take the quiz and it will automatically score it for you. And then it will tell you exactly what type of learner you are. So I will show you what it looks like. It's called the VARK questionnaire. The VARK stands for visual, oral, read and write, and kinesthetic, which is physical. So please, if you can take a couple moments, read over the questions. You can choose your answers. You may choose more than one option if you're 50-50 on some of these. And when you're done, you will go down to the bottom and click OK. And then on the next page, it will provide you with your learner type. So I'm going to pause for a moment while everyone takes the quiz, and then we will rejoin together to discuss. Welcome back. So after that quiz, I hope you have a better sense of your own learning preferences, whether it is visual, oral, reading and writing, and kinesthetic. So let's take a look at each learner type. You can see what characteristics you identify with from that learner type, and then we'll talk about how you can put that into practical use when you are studying. All right, so here is our first learner type, the auditory learner. So auditory has to do with listening. So these are people that enjoy hearing things and being told and explained things in order to learn. So these are people that really like lectures, like audiobooks, like having discussions with others. Anything that they can hear input is good for them to help them absorb information. So if we look at the left side here, you like to hear to learn. You're very good at remembering conversations and remembering things that you hear in class, so good memory. You also like listening, so you prefer to listen to instructions rather than read them, for example. You're a good talker, so you like to engage with others and explain things to them and engage in a dialogue between people. This one is a chatterbox. That isn't necessarily always bad. It just means that you really, really enjoy engaging with your peers, and that's a positive thing. You may get distracted by too much noise, though. So if there is something going on in the background or, a lot of noise when you're trying to study, that might be an issue for you. So be aware of that. Maybe sometimes we have to relocate ourselves to a quiet location in order to be productive. So here on the right side, are the learning tips for auditory learners. So you can take in information much better when you can also listen to it. So for you, videos are a really, really good thing. Maybe if you need help with a concept that you're learning about in class, instead of going home and rereading the textbook, you're the type of person that you might want to go to YouTube and find a video about it. That way you can watch and listen to it rather than read. That might appeal to you more. Reading out loud is actually something that a lot of people do in order to remember information. Nothing wrong with reading out loud to yourself. Repeating, for example, if you're trying to remember a list of vocabulary items or, dates of important events for a history class, for example, repeating them out loud will help you to memorize and learn. Number 4 down here is to discuss. This goes back to working with others in study groups or with a study partner. Anything that you can do to talk to others during the learning process will help you. And then lastly, we already talked about this, avoiding noise. So if you know you get distracted easily, turn off the music, turn off your cell phone notifications. That's a big one. That's a big one for everyone. It will distract you. So if you're really trying to get something done, make sure that you don't have your phone in the background ringing and pinging every couple of minutes. All right, so that is our auditory learner. Let's go on to the next type, which is the visual learner. All right, so these are people that take in information graphically. Anytime you could use a graphic organizer, a diagram, a picture, anything like that, this will really help you out. So on the left side, the characteristics, you see things to learn. You take information by reading and diagrams and pictures. So if you're going through a textbook, for example, you're going to be most drawn to the graphs and the pictures rather than the text itself. You like images and color. You like to take notes because you like to read things when they're written down. You also tend to look around if you get bored, to look for something visually appealing to hold your attention. And you struggle with spoken instructions and remembering details from spoken instructions. So before, our auditory learners, they love to listen to people and they can absorb spoken information. For you, this is a lot harder. Think about if you're asking for someone for directions, how do you respond to that? Do you want to just listen? Will you remember? Or are you the person that needs to write it down? I know for myself, I need to write it down. I'm a visual person. Others prefer to just listen to it and go on their way. So it depends on what type of learner you are. Now let's go over to the right column. Here we have the learning tips. So we talked about YouTube, TED Talks. Anything visual is going to be really good for you. Visualizations, writing, anything where you're taking things and physically putting them on a page that you can look at and study from later will really help. So make sure in class you're taking lots of notes. Even for the auditory people who have pretty good memories and like to take things in orally, please take notes because we do sometimes forget key details and we want to remember those. So always make sure to take notes, whoever you are, whatever your learning style. Draw. Sometimes it's easier to make sense of something if you put it down graphically, right? We say that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and sometimes that's absolutely true. So if you have to draw a diagram, a model, a timeline, anything like that, and you're a visual person, go for it. And then lastly, color. Color. Visual people like color, and the ways you can incorporate color are, for example, in your notes, you can highlight in different colors. So everything that has to do with one topic, you might put in one color. Another topic you would put in a different color, however you want to organize it, but don't be afraid to use some color. Okay. Third one here, we have the tactile learner. Now, tactile is synonymous with kinesthetic. So these are people that cannot sit in one place for very long. They like to get up and move, and they learn best by doing instead of listening or reading or hearing. Okay, so characteristics, moves to learn. So you like to learn by touching and actually going out and doing things. You don't want to read a chapter about maple trees. You want to go out into the environment and look at trees and touch them and feel them and look at the leaves and things like that. So very, very hands-on. You do things in order to remember them. Instead of reading a list of instructions, you actually want to go through and do the task, and that's how you will remember how to do it. You can tend to get a little fidgety. So remember, break often. Tactile people really benefit from getting up and moving around every 20, 30 minutes. I know that's impossible to do when you're sitting in a class, but you can do that remotely. Absolutely. You can get up and stand up and take a stretch. You may sometimes suffer from short attention span. Okay, so when you're studying, we recommend short bits of time. So if you study, let's say in 20-minute blocks, give yourself a little couple minute break in between and repeat that, you will be more effective than if you try to sit down and do something for 3 hours straight. Okay, so small chunks of time with breaks will really be helpful for you. So learning tips, you really like case studies, things that are real world examples. You like to discuss with people because it keeps you engaged. Get active. You like to write, you like to get up, you like to go out and experience, move around, and like I said before, take breaks. Sometimes I see kinesthetic learners actually, when they read, they do something with a pen like this, they move around the page. That's kinesthetic. You're moving when you're doing it. Lots of different ways that you can incorporate movement into learning. Sometimes if you feel overwhelmed, you need to stop and get up and go walk around for a little bit, take a little walk and come back. Okay, that's absolutely fine, and is probably will benefit you in the long run because you'll be able to be more productive. All right, and our last type of learner is the read and write learner. This is what I am. I am very strongly read and write, is what my BARC quiz said. So this is the typical person that succeeds well in a lecture type environment. I really like to take notes, lots and lots of notes. And sometimes when I need to memorize something, I take those notes and then I recopy them actually in order to make myself remember things. Read and write people obviously like to read. So going over your notes after class, reread key parts of texts. Big on notes, absolutely, write everything down. Perfect student, well. But you are able to do well in that traditional type of classroom setting. And you may struggle with, if things are disorganized or not easy to follow, you struggle with that because you like everything to be nice and neatly planned out. So you're probably a planner too. And in the next part, we'll talk about how to plan our time management. All right, so on the learning tip side, read, obviously. Read everything that you can. If you need clarity about something, you're not quite sure, the text doesn't really explain it very well, go read your own materials that you can find, and that will help you. Take notes again, rewrite. This is something that I do often, write and rewrite until it makes sense. Use your words. That means that we don't just write down what a textbook says or what the professor is saying. We think about it and then we write it in our own words that make sense to us. And then translate. So if I look at a diagram or something, I'd like to think about how I would describe that diagram and what's going on in that picture. All right, so those are our major types of learners. Take a moment in your class, learning facilitator, if you just want to have a quick discussion about all the different learner types that are in our classroom, and encourage them to share maybe one or two things that they do as that particular learner type. And maybe they learned one or two different techniques that they can use based on their learner types. So go ahead and have a quick little discussion about that. And then when you're done, come right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. The next segment that we will talk about is time management. This is really important. As busy adults, we have so many things that we are responsible for during the course of a day. Some of you are probably working. Some of you have children, significant others or spouses, personal lives. And now on top of that, we are going to be adding a really big responsibility, which is school, attending your courses and doing all of the academic work that's associated with that. So it's really very important that we learn how to schedule ourselves, make sure that we're allowing ourselves time to take care of ourselves, and planning and prioritizing so that we can accomplish the things that we need to do. All right, so like I said, adults are very busy people. We all have very many responsibilities. So, how do we handle it all? One of the things that we need to do is to plan using calendars and to prioritize the things that are most important to us. I always think about a juggler, and a juggler, is throwing up 5 or 6 balls in the air at the same time. Some of them are plastic, and if they fall, it's okay. Some of them are glass, and they cannot fall or they will break, right? So those are our priorities. Really think during the course of a day or a course of a week, what are those balls that you absolutely must keep in the air? And those are the things that we want to plan first and accomplish first. Once we're done with those, then we can start to work on some of those other plastic balls, the ones that are kind of on the back burner. First of all, I want to show you a quick video. We're only going to watch about 5 minutes of it, and they're going to give you some tips for things you can do in order to be more productive. So let's take a look at this. Okay.
The one thing I'm telling other managers right now is to try Monday.com. Monday.com is a platform to run every.
Talks about entrepreneurs should have focus days, buffer days, and free items that people put on their to-do list.
All right, here we go.
Say no to everything that doesn't support your immediate goals.
41% of items that people put on their to-do list are never done at all. It's like a to-do list is the graveyard of, important but not urgent. And when you truly realize just how valuable a single minute is. I mean, money, we can lose it, make it back again. Our health, we can get sick and get healthy again. Time, once it's gone, it is gone. Time is life.
The 15 secrets successful people know about time management. The productivity habits of 7 billionaires, 13 Olympic athletes, 29 straight A students, and 239 entrepreneurs. You might not use all of them, but if you use 1, 2, 3, or 4 of them, I tell you, you're going to get a lot more out of your day.
Anyone can make a big difference.
Absolutely. We all have the same amount of time. Every single one of us has the same amount of time, but some of us squander it, some of us waste it, some of us don't make best use of it. It's my goal, my hope at the end of this episode that you'll be able to see just how much time you have in the day. And there's something in this episode that you'll be able to use to maybe get more out of your day. And that to me is a win. Absolutely a win in my book. Golden nugget number 1. Time is your most valuable and scarcest resource.
Hey, 1440 is the number that can change your life. And that number is the number of minutes we all have in a single day. And while, most of the people that I interviewed, they're not all doing the same 15 secrets either. The common thread was that they always spoke about minutes and the value of time. And when you truly realize just how valuable a single minute is, I mean, money, we can lose it and make it back again. Our health, we can get sick and get healthy again. Time, once it's gone, it is gone. Time is life. And so, in 1 minute for your health, you can bang out some push-ups or sit-ups or take a cleansing breath. For relationships, you can tell someone that you love them or that you're grateful for them. In business, it takes a minute to have a breakthrough idea. And once you truly understand that, all of a sudden, you're not going to let people steal your time with all those God-a-minute meetings or other trivial things.
There's a certain number of minutes every single day that I have at my disposal, and so much of it is just wasted minutes. So if you start to capitalize on the time that you have, you'll realize, holy, I can get a whole bunch done. So golden nugget number 2, identify your most important task and do it first.
The most important task, the MIT, your MIT is, what is that project that is going to double the size of your business? What is that project that's going to get you the promotion or max out your bonus at work? And then break it down. It's like, what domino can I tip over today that's going to lean on the next one and the next one? And then we have to get in that discipline of scheduling time to work on our MIT first thing in the morning. Behavioral psychologist Dan Ariely talks about we are at our best for about a 2-hour window of time in the morning. We're at our cognitive best. But what do most of us do? We stroll in with, to work, we open up email, we start working on everybody else's MITs by answering their emails and all that stuff. Before we respond to text, before we listen to voicemails, before we do email, we should work on our MITs.
Golden nugget number 3, work from your calendar, not a to-do list.
Stop using a to-do list. I was asking all of these people, self-made billionaires, self-made millionaires, what is your number one secret to productivity? They could have said anything. And none of them mentioned a to-do list. I was about halfway through the interviews. And finally, I started doing the follow-up. I'm like, well, what about your to-do list? Give me some advice. They laughed at me. They're like, to-do list? We work from a calendar. And as I did the research, it turns out 41% of items that people put on their to-do list are never done at all. It's like a to-do list is the graveyard of, important but not urgent. If you really want to get something done, pick a day, a time, and a duration, and then live from your calendar.
Golden nugget number 4, to overcome procrastination, beat your future self.
So we need to think about, all right, how's that future evil version of ourselves going to jeopardize our best intentions? And let's say we want to start jogging this week. We want to work out. Well, you know what? I know that my evil self is going to hit that snooze alarm. How do I fight back? I'm gonna put my iPhone. I'm gonna set that alarm, put on the other side of the room. So I got to literally get out of bed to shut it off. And that evil Kevin's gonna say, "Oh man, I don't know where my workout stuff is. I'll work out tomorrow instead." Well, you know what? I'm gonna beat that future version by putting my sneakers right at the end of my bed. In fact, I'm gonna go to sleep in my shorts and t-shirt. So I just need to put my sneakers on and I'm dressed.
Nice.
So we just need to think about all the ways that we're going to procrastinate, all those excuses we're going to come up with, and try to beat them in the present moment.
Okay. All right. So in that video, they gave some really useful tips about how to maximize every moment that you have, how to anticipate the things that might prevent you from being your most productive, and how to work around those things. And I thought the part about the to-do list was really interesting. I, for one, am a to-do list person, so I think it's important, but I like what they talked about, that we shouldn't make a to-do list that becomes a list of wishes, right? We don't want to just make a list of, in a perfect world, if I could do everything, these are the things I would do, because that's not very realistic. We likely can't do all of those things in one day. What we can do is think about our MIT, like he said, our most important tasks, and we can put those directly into a calendar, and we can plan time to ensure that those prioritized events happen during the course of a day. So in order to do this, what we're going to do is I would like everyone to think about their obligations for this fall. And we're actually going to go through the process of creating your own weekly schedule. The important thing to remember about this is that it not only includes school stuff, right? Of course, we have to put in the times that we are going to class, the times that we're going to designate to study, times that we're going to designate to do homework assignments, of course. But we are also very complicated beings with complicated lives and lots of things going on. So think about those things you have to do every week that you just have to do. You have to go to work. You have to sleep. You have to spend time with your children or your significant other. You have to spend time cooking dinner. You have to do a lot of different things during the day. And the important thing is to make sure that you account for all of them, okay? And then once you see what blocks of time you're already occupied, then you can go back in and start filling in some of the blanks with other things that you would like to accomplish. Okay, and I want to stress that an important thing about this is that plan to take care of yourself as well. Be realistic. If you are someone who likes to go to the gym a couple times a week, be sure to plan that into your schedule. because you know the phrase, you can't pour from a cup that is empty, right? If you're empty, if you're stressed out, if you're not able to function, you're not going to do a good job for anyone else or for yourself. So we have to make sure that we plan times in order to take care of ourselves. And it's very, very hard, I know. But try when you're doing this activity to really think about when you can do things that you will enjoy, right? Maybe you like to watch TV, you have a guilty little pleasure, you have a show that you like to watch or something. That's great, fine, but plan it into your day. You know, you can record it, and then when you come home at night on a Tuesday night, you can plan for that and say, okay, this is my hour TV block, and this is what I'm going to do, right? Okay, so what we're going to do next, your learning facilitator is going to provide you a link for a calendar. In the chat, you can click on it and it will look exactly like this. Now, what you can do is copy it over to a new document. We don't want to type in here because all of our classmates will be able to see it. So what you can do is just highlight it, and then we can copy it, and you can move it to a new Word document or wherever else you would like to move it. If you prefer, you can also use your Google Calendar or your SAC Outlook email calendar. Those are great places. The schedule is already there for you. All you need to do is insert the activities during the time that you want to do them at. Or if you kind of like the old paper and pencil approach, you can absolutely use this on paper, and you can click in each field and you can type in things that you need to accomplish. You can use color, and I encourage you to block off your time. So maybe, you know, we'll say Monday 8 through 9:30. Okay, that's a time when my kids are in school, and I'm fresh, you know, and I'm going to start accomplishing one of my major tasks, and I'm going to write that down. But the thing is to incorporate all of your obligations: social, personal, work, school, everything, so that we make sure we have an accurate picture of our day. If we know that we don't wake up until 10 o'clock a.m. and we can't function before then, don't schedule yourself for anything before then. Be realistic. And once you have a schedule, it's so nice to know that I can accomplish all of these things if I just stick to my schedule. So let's take a minute and maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Please fill out a planner for the next week. So starting on Monday, April 16th is when classes begin. So let's try to do a schedule for that first week. Think about all the things you need to do next week and how you're going to combine that with your new responsibilities of homework and classes. Remember, our classes are 8 weeks and it's a very intense pace. So you will need to plan yourself a lot of time to go over your course materials and work on assignments during the week. So let's do 10 minutes on this, and then afterwards, learning facilitator, if you would please show some examples of schedules that our students have created, and you can learn from each other. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you had a few moments to create your own schedule and think about really all the things that you need to do next week and how you're going to make this work. It will be hard. There will be obstacles, and sometimes things come up at the last minute that you just have to tend to. Those glass balls, right? Those things that come into our lives and have to be dealt with right now. And that will happen. But we should always go into each week with a good, solid plan of how we're going to accomplish everything we need to. And one of the things that they talked about in that video, the first bit of advice they gave was about the value of even a minute, and how we all have the same number of minutes in a day. We just choose to use them either productively or unproductively. And you can really do a lot in just a minute. And to illustrate this point, I want to do a quick experiment. What I'm going to do is I have my phone here. I'm going to set a stopwatch for exactly 1 minute. Let me find my stopwatch. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to set my stopwatch. I'm going to set it for 1 minute exactly. And I want everyone to close your eyes. I'll tell you when to start, and to just sit there with your eyes closed. And we're going to be silent. And then when you think a moment at 1 minute has elapsed, I want you to open your eyes. And we're going to get a really good sense of the duration of 1 minute and what we can do in that 1 minute. Okay, so everybody close your eyes, and I'm starting our time now. Okay, that is our minute right there. When you're sitting in silence for an entire minute, it seems quite long, doesn't it? And I want to think about, what could you have accomplished in that 1 minute? Could you have done a little bit of your weekly plan for this week? Maybe. Could you have responded to an email in that minute? Probably. Could you have maybe read a short paragraph of a reading assignment? Or could you have written a couple sentences of an assignment? I think you could have. So the idea is that we want to really maximize our time, and we're busy people. Even if you don't have 20 consecutive minutes to sit down and to devote to something, you can do 5 minutes, you can do 4 minutes, you can even do 1 minute of work, and little by little it will add up. So I encourage you, if you are thinking about starting a project and you say, oh, but I only have 10 minutes, do it anyway. 10 minutes is a lot of time, and you can accomplish a lot in those 10 minutes. Okay, so this is a time for any questions or takeaways that you might have. So I'm going to pause just for a moment and let you pose any questions that you have to your learning facilitator. If you have any questions, or if you just want to summarize, what was your major takeaway from this? What are the skills that you learned about today that you think you can actually incorporate into your daily life? And that leads us to the end of our time together. I want to thank everyone for your attention, and I hope that you have a wonderful, successful fall 1 term. And I want to remind you, you can do this, and you will do this. It just takes persistence and commitment. And I know that you can all be extremely successful when you apply yourselves. Doesn't matter if you haven't been in school for a while. Doesn't matter if you're coming straight out of high school. Doesn't matter if you haven't been a perfect student in the past. Doesn't matter if you didn't have straight A's or if you had a bad experience. We're all here together in this, doing something positive for our futures, for our families. We here at St. Augustine support you, and we want you to be successful. Your learning facilitators are here anytime you need them. In any way we can, we're here to support you. So thank you so much for joining me today, and welcome to St. Augustine College again.